Cool, not a problem. All right, so in this video, we're just going to go through how to order cladding materials. So I've just got a job here that's got a few different options on it, so that's probably a good place to start. So this is just going to be the Cladding Materials cost center. I'm just going to delete all those items because they're in red. All right, so first up, I have a set of plans here that I would like to work out the cladding for. So if we look at the front of the house here, now this one doesn't have it nominated. So with this wider profile, so what we'll do is we'll just check and see if the color selection has nominated anything. Okay, so here we've got Stria, Hardyflex, and Axon marked. Okay, so basically with that, so we've got, so this is our Axon. So this is our thin profile vertical cladding that comes in large panels. So there's two different types of finish on this one. We normally just go the smooth. I don't think this is nominated. No, it's just the Axon 400. Okay, so what that means is it is a 400 wide band in between these. So nice wide grooves there. And then basically you just match your sheet. So if this is the section that we want to look at, so this is all our 400s, we're just going to work out, this is going to be the height of the wall. So we just want to basically work out which sheet is going to be most effective, and then this is how wide the sheets are. So we're always going to divide it by the 1200. And for these ones, you do get the full width of the sheet. So there's different products where we actually have to do a different effective width on that, and we'll cover that. So that's how we're going to do Axon. So if we go back to our plans, so all this horizontal here, all of this area is all going to be Axon. So to work out the Axon that I'm going to require, I'm just going to take this off the front so it's a bit easier to see. Okay, so first of all, what size of sheet do we need? So if we take the length here, we can see that we're going to need basically 4.7. So then we need to try and work out, well, what sheet is going to most effectively work for that size. So I think if we just go 2.4s, that'll be enough to cover that. And then there's just a little bit of trim wastage. So that would be how I'd be kind of working it out roughly for there. So for this one, then we've got, I might actually do, I can kind of do this on Bluebeam if it's a big area. So basically, we do this internal section first, so it's still over. So we do the 6.76 divided by 1200, which is the size of the sheet. So basically, along this area here, if we're just looking at this internal area, this area first. Now, you're not really going to be able to use many of these sheets. There's lots of cuts, so you're not really going to be able to take much out in terms of this sliding door. So I just order full panels there. So we're going to have 1 1200 sheet, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to do this area in yellow here. So that's the number of panels that we need, but then we're going to need 2 panels high because we've got 3.5 high, and you can see on this sheet there isn't one that's 3.5. 3 is the longest one that we've got. So what we can do is we can do and probably just use, let me just think. Because this is all going to join up, I think we'll probably just pretend this whole area is flat and then add an extra allowance in for the returns. This isn't really a balcony. If you look at the floor plans, it's like it's just a feature panel, so it's not actually like the returns go in much, but we're just going to need a little bit extra here. So I might actually treat that as a whole area. So if I delete that and that, and we'll just pretend this is whole sheets. So we'll do it from there to there. So now we've got 7.54 divided by 1200. So we need 7 sheets and 2 high. So if I open data build, so I'm in the cladding cost center, then I'm going to go find my axon. So this is axon smooth. So we've got the axon smooth 400, and we just needed to have, we were going to use this one 2 high, and we needed 14 sheets in total for that front section up the top. I'm going to put this one on load 2. So what I normally do is order the different materials for their different loads. So when I have an upper floor, I'll order that on load 2 because that's the second delivery. And then when I've got, so this is going to be, one is going to be lower floor delivery. And this one's going to be so this one, when we were looking at the plans, shows that it's on the upstairs. So that's what we're going to need for that area. That is quite a bit of extra wastage, so I think that will be adequate to do the returns there. So now we're going to work out the lower level. So if we go back to our specification sheet, so this is now a horizontal wide panel. So if you look on here, no, I've gone too far. So now we've got Stria. So that's our horizontal. So if we go back to the James Hardie website, and now we've got our horizontal. And we don't have a size nominated on that one, so we'll just see. Does look like the wider band, so the 405. What are the different sizes? It's not very clear which size we're ordering on that one, actually. Oh, the 380 effective. Okay, so that's obviously got a little rebate in the sheet when it sits together. So we need vertical flashing. Okay, so it will be the 405. So if we go back to data build now and we put in Stria, we've got going to need some internal corners as well. Okay, so first up we'll work out on here how many panels we need for downstairs and the front garage. So we've got 4.2 long by 0.38 wide. So normally what I do is I'll just mark up where 4.2 is. Maybe, roughly. And so from there I can actually, I'll usually count how many I need in terms of, so we need to go, there needs to be a little piece here, but we can use an offcut, and then we need to go to here, so 2.44. So you go 2.44 divided by 0.38. So that means that you're going to need 7 high if this was a full area. So I'd be doing I'd be doing I'm just wondering how to look this up. Okay, so if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's actually a little bit 7. So if you've got that area, and you can use the offcuts from there, because this is the length of the whole panel, it goes along here. So you can use those offcuts there to do that section there. So that's 7, and then you need another one here, and I'd probably just order, so that's 7, 8, and then I'd probably just order one there, 9 to round it up. So that's, on that one, I would order 9, and that will do the lower front. And that needs to be 1 because it's downstairs. Okay, and then we'll just have a look in this one to see exactly what we're going to need. So this is how the profile works. That's how you lose a little bit in terms of the size. So that's why it goes down from 405 to the 0.38 that we're using. So we will need to have some of these vertical flashing stops. So we do know we're going to have an internal corner in here, and then we're going to need a vertical stop there. So we need a vertical stop there and an internal corner on that corner there. With the external corners we generally just order timber to cover the external corners, and we don't use these starter strips either. So it's just this internal corner here that we're going to use. So then if we go, so that's the front of the house. Now if we move over to here, we've got another different type of cladding again. So we've got these areas. So we've got stria along here. So I'll just see when we get to 4.2. Just put it there so I know roughly. And then we've got, that's the height that we're working with. So 4.22. So it's going to be, that was 7 boards at the front. So then we're going to do 7 plus we can do half a board here and use the other half here, half a board here, half a board here. So we can do just like 11 boards will be enough to cover that area. So then we go back in here to 11. Again, we're going to need a vertical because we've got a join between those. So we add another one there, and then we don't have an internal corner. Okay, so now if we go up to our axon, so we go, that height is 4.25 again, and then we're going to do that. So we've got 4.06 divided by the size of the sheet, which was 1200. So that's 3.4, which is going to be 4 sheets of each. So we need, I'll just do it down here. So we've got another 8 sheets there, and that's on the upper level. So I'll leave that load as 2. These are all on the lower, so that means they'll go out with the first delivery. We can organize that. You can organize that nicely so that it sorts by load, just not combine like quantities. So we can get that so that it sits nicely, so you can kind of work out, oh, this is our first delivery, this is the second delivery. So then what we're going to do is we're going to work out our lower fibre cement sheet. So this one here is just the James Hardie Flex sheet. So this is your fibre cement sheet, and then this is your cover strip. So that's essentially exactly what we're going to do. So that gives a good look. So the timber covers up the join between the 2 sheets. So this is exactly the same product that we use on our eaves. We just use a thicker board when it comes to walls. So when you do walls or the back of parapets or anything, we use a 6mm board. And for eave sheets, you can drop it down to a 4.5. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at the plans. They're going to show us which size of board we need. So we're going to order a board that's this wide. So this is just a 900 board? 900 board. Okay. Right, so now we want so you have to be a little bit careful with this one. So we've got Hardie Tex, which is blue board, and we've got Hardie Flex, which is what we're actually looking at. So I'm just going to drop in a couple of these because we're probably going to need a few different sizes. So we've got those different options. So we want the 6mm because we're doing walls, and then that gives us the 900 wide board. And I'll just change that because we're just going to do the lower floor at the moment, just so that we're only looking at that. So then if I go back to our plans, so these ones here are going to be 2400. and then we'll just divide that area, because this has a little return in it, so we just need to allow the return as well. So we've got our length there, which is 5.16 divided by 900 for the sheet. So we need 6 boards at 2.44 high. So we've got 6 boards there at 2.44. Then what we need is we've got 2 returns in here. Now you can see the returns on the floor plan here. So we've got 2 returns there. So they're actually a metre. So I'll just allow an extra 3 sheets to do those areas. They can use half of a sheet to fill in the gap. So we'll just add another 2. So that's, what was that, 6. So we'll pop in 9. Then what we need to do is we need to allow for an internal joint. So what we do for this particular product, which is noted in the estimating manual, is you've got your internal corners. So this is just any of your lightweight product. We've got our internal corners is 18 by 18. So this is just a timber bead. So we just use this one, and we've just got 2 internal corners. So I just put 2 at 5.4. You're not really going to use this one, lots of little bits. You're not going to sit there and measure it all and work out offcuts and stuff like that. It's not a very expensive product. They'll just throw the rest of it in the bin. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move down, and this is a bigger step here. So there's actually a step down in the slab. So this is where our wall heights change. So they're actually going to have cut sheets here because they don't make sheets over 3 meters. So we're just going to have to remember that, because we're going to do horizontal and vertical battens. So we're going to have to put another batten in here. So if we just work out where the 3 meters is. So I'm not too sure where they're going to want to put the batten in, but we'll just have to allow for another batten to come through so that we can do separate sheets. So normally when I'm doing this, I'll actually mark up on a set of plans. I'll actually show where I've allowed these joins to be, so that it's clearly shown, because if I allow a board to be cut up into lots of pieces, or if I allow for a line to go through the middle, then you're obviously going to have different wastage. So I'll just do this one up how I think it should be, and then at least I've allowed something. So that's 10 meters along there. So what we're going to do is 10 meters divided by 900 for the width of the sheet. So it's just over 11 that we need. So we're going to need 12 at 3. So we're going to need 12 there for the lower part. And then we're just going to need to cut a board up into lots of pieces along the top here, and then have slightly longer pieces through here. So I'm just going to put 4 boards in there. That's plenty. So they can have, so we'll do that up to 16. And that will be the join through there. So when I'll print out a copy of these plans and actually draw that one in. Okay. And then we can go up. So that's us covered all this bottom area here. And so now we can go up and do this area up here. Now with a lot of these openings, they're not really big enough to take out full sheets. So I just leave them in, but then don't provide additional sheets for wastage. Obviously, with like the panel here for this front door, you're only going to use a little bit of it. So someone could be more economical with that. And therefore we would have, potentially they could use the off cut from here up here. So I just try and not allow too many extra sheets at the end. So we've got ceiling height here. So again, we're just going to use the 3 meter boards. So that's all we've got to choose from in the 900 size. So I'm just, again, going to take a measurement from here to here. So we've got 14.6 divided by 0.9. So we're going to need 17 sheets on the top. So I'll go back into data build. I'll do another item here. I'll type in 17, and then I'll just change the load to 2 so that it goes out with the upper delivery. So I just keep moving around the house like that. Then what we need to do is we need to allow cover strips, and we also need to allow for any joins, like any corner pieces. So when I'm looking at the corners, I've got my estimating manual which tells me what I'm using. So for lightweight, excluding linear board, okay, so we're using lightweight cladding, which is lightweight fibre cement sheets, excluding linear board. We use the 86 by 19, okay? So that means on all of these external corners, we're just going to allow a length of that. So if we go back into data build, we go, I don't think I've even got this set up. So when you come back, I'll get a price for this and actually use an item. Don't use just custom items. All these are standard products that we need to have set up in our database. So I'll get that one actually added in just like this line item here. But for the purposes of this, so these are in 5.4 meter lengths. So with this, again, they can be a little bit more economical, but I just like to go around the house and count the number of external corners. So I'll just do this in green so you can see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the lower floor. So I'll just pop that in. So that will automatically calculate that for me because I've got that at load 1. So that's our lower floor, and then we'll use the other item, put that on the upper floor. So then we go to the upper floor plan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very simple. Then we go back into here and we just change this to a 4. And that will also recalculate that one for us. Then we need to do our internal corners. So we had actually already put a few, we'd done our internal corners for here. We're also going to need one for here and here. So I'll just do another 2 lengths of the 18 by 18. So that's noted here as your internal corners are 18 by 18. So we'll just make that 4. Okay. Then we need to allow for picture framing. So picture framing is where we do nice frames around the window like you can see here. I'll see if I can find you a better picture. So this is all the picture framing, so it's not part of the window. So we just allow for 42 by 19 just to give it a nice shape around the window. So with that, I actually, if the whole house is in a fibre cement sheet product, I actually go to the window schedule. So I go to the window schedule, and then you can actually convert this over to, you can export into Excel page region. So then I just select this. Then I just go into window schedule. And then I just create a formula of that times 2 plus the width times 2, and that gives me my perimeter of my windows. And then I go that times, and that gives me it in meters. Why is that one not? Okay, I've stuffed that up, sorry. Yep, okay. So, why is that? Okay, I'm just going to do that again because that's the wrong numbers. Then I just get a total of all of that, and then divide that by 5.4. And that's how many lengths I need to order. So I just round that up a bit. And then we've obviously got a couple of sliding doors and things like that in there. So I usually add a few on extra to that, and that gets me close enough. So then I will do, there's the 66 by 19, that's what we're using. And then the 42. So we need the 4, and then we need that again, 21.6 in 2. There we go. Okay, I thought it was weird that that item wasn't there. So I'll delete those two out. Okay, so now we have our windows. So that was on our spreadsheet 21. So I'll just divide that up to go out in 2 separate deliveries. So probably just do 13. And then do that. So that splits it up, gives us a fair bit of wastage, and that goes out in 2 separate deliveries. So now we've got our windows and doors covered in terms of their trim. We've got to now add in all of our cover strips. So we're using the 42 by 18 for picture framings. This is what we're looking at here. So it's only the linear board when we go up to a chunky size. So we've got the 42 by 19. So it's the same as our picture framing here. So then what we do is I basically get the board length. So the two sides of the board. So if you looked at the board here, you've got 900 width, and then you've got, we'll call it 3 meters high. That's the majority of the boards that we've ordered. So you've got 900 plus 3. So each board is going to need basically 4 lineal meters. So I just use that as a calculation. So if I do 4 lineal meters of trim for every board, and then I just add up all my boards. So if we'd completely done the house here, we'd have 17 plus 16 plus 9, which equals 42. Then I'd times that by 4. So the picture framing for this one, I would need 168, which divided by 5 point. So I'd need 32 at 5.4 there. So that's basically covering this length, and then each sheet will obviously cover that, and so that basically gives you all of the cover strips that you need for all of the boards. So that's quite a quick way of doing it, but it seems to get a fairly accurate number for on site. So then the only other one would be the main other, which we don't have on this house, is Newport. So if I just jump into another job just to show you how I don't think this is just frozen. So we've then got Easy Lap is very easy because it's just big panels, and there's joining strips for those. So that's quite a simple one. You've just got horizontal H flashings. So every horizontal join, you just allow one of these flashings. So they're very simple panels that are just painted with an acrylic paint. So the ones that I wanted to cover was the Hardy Plank. So this is where we've got any of our weatherboard type products. They're all really very similar in terms of how they're calculated. So if we did have, say, a weatherboard here, you've got the length at 4.2, which is fairly standard, and then the width at 300. Now that's the width of the board, but the effective cover, because you've got an overlap, they're not really going to show you. I think this one was better in terms of showing when there's an overlap, but essentially it's same as Stria in that the boards overlap, so you do have to allow a little bit more. So when I'm doing areas where I've got that, we're basically just dividing the height by the 275. So if we were looking at this job now, and this horizontal cladding here was actually a weatherboard, then I would just be dividing this area here, that height, 2.44, so 2.44 divided by the 0.275. So that needs 9 boards high, and this width is less than 4.2, so there we can use 9 boards would adequately cover that area. So it's just basically working through each section. When we have WeatherTex, we get that one quoted. So if I can show you. So when we get when we send that one out, we get elevations that are actually marked up showing the area that they've included. So for this particular house, you can see here you would need to allow something on the other side of this wall because we're probably going to tile that splashback area there. So you would just need to allow some fibre cement there. So they mark up what type of product they've allowed, and then this is all the accessories. So they've already included internal and external corners, end stops, little joints for all the boards. Then they provide a total takeoff. So this is the total area for all of these products. They've then got an installation guide. So this is helpful in you can read through it and understand which products have been allowed in which places. So there you can see the profile of all the different boards. So once that comes through, that just gets sent off to Bunnings or Brett's, and they will price that. So you can see that that's already been sent through, and then we get a copy of the quote sent back. So then you've just basically got your total, and they provided that all in different breakdowns. So you can order this, you can split this delivery up a little bit if the supervisor needs a little bit more room on site. I would just order all the accessories and joints because they're all quite small, and then just separate the WeatherTex into a couple of deliveries, and then you just add on an additional transport charge. So there's still you still have to work through the rest of the plans and work out where anywhere else you could potentially need additional fibre cement products. So that's basically all of the cladding is ordered in this cost centre. And then we have a separate cost centre. So we do all of our actual Safite sheets in the Eve cost centre. So that's in our Eve material cost centre. So then we have a different one here. And so this is where we just put in our Eve sheets, our joining strips. Then we need our batten, which basically is when the Eve sheet, which sits along here, when that meets the house wall, we put a little bit of timber batten in the corner there. So I think that's probably all for your Eve material takeoff. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe. So what I'll do is I'll finish this one off, and then I'll do an actual layout. So I'll show you how I do a layout, and I think that just helps provide clarification for the guys on site, and I just forward that layout to them, so that shows them where all the different boards go. So I'll pop a copy of that in the estimating manual here so that you can have a look and see what I have allowed for. All right, perfect. I will